Ridge roofs with little decorated windows, which now surmount most of the tenements in Zamosc, were built as a result of further alterations. A lot of public buildings underwent all kinds of alterations, and due to it some of them were even destroyed. The main part of the former mansion of the Zamoyskis is not very attractive, and it practically is deprived of architectural interior decorations. In the middle of the 18th century, the Renaissance palace was transformed into a Baroque mansion. Unfortunately, in the 19th century a lot of elements such as the attic, fan-shaped staircase, view tower were destroyed. Nowadays this building does not remind about the magnificence and the power of the heirs, the owners of Zamosc living here in those days. The complex of the Zamosc Academy was also reconstructed a few times. Double-story building built on the plan of a square with an inner yard was one of the most sumptuous edifices in the town. The Zamosc Academy, founded in 1594, had been situated here for nearly 200 years. It was the third academy in Poland. The rector's scepter, founded in 1619 by the second Herr Tomasz Zamoyski, has remained up to the present days since the beginnings of the academy. The replica of the rector's gown allows us to see what the rectors were dressed like. Three maces, the heraldic arms of the academy, refer to the heraldic arms of the Zamoyskis. This proves how much importance the founders of the academy attached to it. The printing firm, which as the first one in this part of the country was publishing books in Polish, was founded at the academy in 1648. The symbol of Zamosc is already mentioned town hall. Its erection was started in 1591 by Morando, but the shape of the town hall was changing a lot of times within centuries. For instance, the famous stairs were built only in the 60s of the 18th century. It was then when the tower was rebuilt and the clock was constructed. The functions of the town hall were changing as well. For instance, in the 40s of the 19th century, it served as prison. Nowadays, the town hall is the headquarters of the town authorities, though. Another important part of the edifices in Zamosc consists of sacred buildings. There were different temples in this multinational town. In the model of the old Zamosc we can see a Jewish chapel, Orthodox and Armenian churches. These churches prove the coexistence of different nationalities and religions. Of course, Zamosc was dominated by Catholic monasteries and churches. The most important one was and still is the Collegiate Church. Zamosc Collegiate Church is three-aisle basilica with 2 rows of lower chapels. The aisles and the presbytery are covered by a barrel vault. The walls are decorated by stonework ornaments and the ceiling by scagliola. One of the chapels, called Herr's Chapel, belongs to the Zamoyskis. The gravestone of Jan Zamoyski, made in 1618, is placed here. Here we can also admire a marble grave sculpture of Tomasz Zamoyski. The great attraction of the Collegiate Church is the grave crypt of the family of Zamosc founders. The heirs and their relatives have been buried here for 400 years. Zamosc, seen with the eyes of tourists, associates mainly with Jan Zamoyski's work, whose ashes are buried in the Chancellor Crypt. But other crypts, rows of coffins and ornamented urns, make us realize that this town has existed and developed thanks to the contribution of many generations. So the fame of Zamosc is partly the contribution of other heirs who are buried here. We must remember about that. As we go out from the collegiate church, we inevitably spot the fragments of fortifications. The whole 24-hectare complex was surrounded and protected by the line of bastion fortifications. The site of Zamosc demanded the town to be a fortress. Even today we may clearly notice the line of the oldest fortifications dating back from the first stage of the erection of the town by Morando. The complex of the old Lublin Gate, one of the 3 gates leading to the town, remained from those times up to the present moment. Generally, most of the preserved fortifications date back from the first half of the 19th century. It was then when the authorities of Zamosc decided to give the town a military character. At the time, Zamosc belonged to the Russian sector of partitioned Poland. Zamosc ceased to be a private town in 1821, and the authorities were at liberty to do what they thought. The Renaissance line of bastions was reinforced, rebuilt and modified. The curtain walls joining the bastions were 3 meters thick. The gallery of the row of loopholes was situated inside it. The wall was protected by a moat and soil reinforcements. The whole foreground of the fortress, at a distance of 1,200 meters, was free from any buildings. People were moved to the outskirts. According to those times' technique of fortification, the system of defense was completed with new elements. In the so-called necks of the 7th and the 8th bastions, great ultra-decks were built. Those 2 remarkable edifices remained up to the contemporary times. After complete conservation works, they now enable us to appreciate and learn the complicated art of the 19th century fortifications. All the works done in Zamosc were supervised by the General of Engineering Army Malet Malecki. He subordinated the town completely to the military vision and function. The army was occupying the most important buildings, also monasteries, the buildings of the academy and the Zamoyski's palace. Malecki did not stop occupying the edifices. Wanting to create the town of Caesars, he destroyed many of the buildings or deprived them of the interior decorations. A lot of attics were destroyed then, at the town hall for instance. The town was deprived of a few towers too. Military strictness protected the town from the chaos of the 19th century urbanization, which sometimes was even more destructive. Fortunately, the Zamosc fortress did not have a chance to serve as a military object. The development of war technology caused that it was no more needed. So, in the 1866, the fortifications were blown up. So our sappers were not very careful though. They did not completely destroy what had been erecting within centuries. We are going back to the main market square under the colorful sunshades of cafe tables. After the hardships of sightseeing, the tourists sit here to rest and sum up their impressions. Just here we began and will finish our story about Zamosc, the town enrolled by the UNESCO to the list of the World Cultural Heritage in 1992. We will not sum it up, as the 400 years of the history of the town, consolidated in so many monuments, cannot be summed up in just a few words. You just have to see it.